We've got a whole pack that we can go through with prospective agents that includes templated emails, the flow. We also run competitions as when agencies come on board. We'll often be giving away a month's free rent to one lucky tenant who signs up in that time period just to kind of incentivize. Most tenants, it isn't so much that they aren't willing to do it, it's just making the time to do it. As you do and me know, any kind of change, the harder thing is just making the time and getting around to it. So those kind of competitions and those kind of templates just help get over that change paralysis of tenants. But the flexibility is really where it comes in. So, if you were doing direct debit before, you can do direct debit with us. If you were one who gave out bank or trust account details or used BPay, we have that option too. So the easiest way to get tenants to change over is just kind of going like for like and just matching whatever they're used to, while still letting them know that there's other options if they want them. But obviously people are used to a certain way, and as much as possible, we try and maintain that to make it as seamless as possible.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Kylie Walker, and thank you for having me in your ears. Now, do you want to know what the biggest issues were in property management when I started my business? Getting tenants to pay their rent, daily banking, and the whole trust accounting process, if I'm completely honest. And when I started, there was no ABA file to upload. Oh no, we had to print off the bank statements and go line by line with a ruler through each and every payment, hoping that there was a reference of some sort, and then manually assign that payment to a tenant. And of course, being someone who is lacking attention to detail, I stuffed it up almost every single day and would spend hours chasing my tail, trying to get everything to balance. Then I'd have to chase the tenants in arrears to get them to pay their rent. And who hasn't heard all the excuses under the sun? But I made that payment 2 days ago. You must have receipted it to someone else. I can't be behind. I paid 2 weeks in advance when I moved in. And there's so many more. It frustrates me. I can't even name any more of them. And then you'd have to spend more and more time in your already time poor day chasing these phantom payments and stories up. And even though I've advanced and my banking institution and property management software has helped me streamline the entire process, lately there's been a few other issues that have raised issues with payments and collecting rent in my business. And one of these is the issue around the 3 days clearance of rental funds. So when they arrive in our account, we have to wait 3 days before dispersing them, or the payment could default. And it can take up to 3 days for it to come out of the tenant's bank account as well, which is an issue because the tenants may think that they've already paid their rent and there's still money in there, and then they're likely to overspend that money because it hasn't come out of their account yet. Now, the other issue is with property owners. They can see that the money is sitting there on their statement, but it's not being dispersed to them. It's being withheld as uncleared funds. This is like dangling a carrot in front of a rabbit, a bone in front of a dog, and not actually letting them get it. Or it's like a kid at a vending machine and the chocolate they've just paid for hasn't yet dropped. But then there's the issue. The property owner just needs that money probably to pay their mortgage payment. It's not an ideal situation to be in. And then there's the issue of the bank then charging my business for the tenant's dishonor fee. Another growing issue on top of that is the growing fees that keep coming in with a lot of these banking institutions, and tenants constantly complaining about the fees. My institution, the tenants get charged 85 cents every time they make a rental payment. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes if you're in low socioeconomic areas and sometimes people just have real problems with paying fees, it can create another headache that we have to deal with in property management. So people in my team have also created a few issues at different times, giving out our bank account details without permission or taking cash payments, which often result in no reference details being left. And then we've got to spend more time chasing up who made this payment, where did it come from? But what if I told you there's actually a payment platform that's about to solve all of those issues that I just mentioned and whinged and whined about, and much more? Have you heard about Rentpay? Well, Rentpay is the secure and simple to use payment platform that saves agents time and money with fast, accurate receipting and also making life way better for tenants. Tenants can pay using credit card, debit card, BPay, Pay ID, or bank transfer, and Rentpay then pays your agency exactly how they want to be paid. This includes instant NPP or OSCO technology payments. So let me introduce James Stewart. He is the product developer at Rentpay, and he's spent the last 2 years since launching Rentpay pretty much solving every rental payment problem agents and renters face, from the cleared funds issue to the growing fees and even chasing up late payments and rent arrears. He's covered it all in this simple and flexible payment platform. Say goodbye to wasting time chasing rental payments and hello to more time to work on your business and grow your business. Sounds too good to be true? Well, take a listen to this episode. James, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. Now, before we dive in, I'll get you to intro yourself and tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started doing what you do now.
Thanks, Carly. It was great to have me here. So I'm James. I'm the product manager for Rentpay. So in terms of my start, I started off from a banking background. So I've kind of done it all in that regard. I started off on the teller bays, worked in a branch, and then went into their home finance area and ended up working kind of in their project area, improving the customer experience and working on a bunch of tools to kind of make the process easier, both for customers and for brokers. From there, I got the opportunity to come and work with the team at rent.com.au who were developing the Rentpay product. And that seemed kind of interesting to me because I had used rental payment systems as a customer, as a renter, and I wasn't a massive fan of them, as I think a lot of renters aren't. And the team at Rent were kind of coming at it with a different attitude and wanting to make something that didn't just help the agents, but that renters would actually get benefit from as well, which I thought was a really interesting approach. So I came on to help manage that, and we've been live for just over 2 years now, and growing every day.
That is amazing. Let's start at the very beginning. What is Rentpay, and what are the benefits, I guess, we'll start with maybe with an agency first. What are the benefits for an agency?
Sure. As I mentioned, it's a rental payment platform, and the way it works at its core is it's a digital wallet that tenants can add funds to via a variety of payment methods. So we offer, direct debit from a bank account. You can pay with a credit card. You can pay BPay. You can send money using Pay ID. So the tenants will deposit money into their Rentpay account, and then that Rentpay account will pay out to the agent when the rent is due. So in terms of benefits for the agents, I mean, straight off the bat, the ability for them to offer all those payment methods without needing to configure them each independently is a massive advantage for agencies, and something that our research has said that tenants want. And the data and the statistics have shown that when we offer flexibility to tenants and you make it easier for them to make the payments, the arrears rates go down. If tenants have it easier, then they'll pay their rent easier. So straight off the bat, that's an advantage to agencies. And then from there, because the tenants are paying into Rentpay and then we're paying through to the agency, we can make sure there's a reference applied to every single payment that goes through. So you never have to worry about unallocated funds, you never have to worry about not knowing who paid. Similarly, purpose, so we can assign a purpose to the funds. So obviously, if they're just paying their rent, that will come through as rent. But if they make a bond payment or a bond top-up, if they're making a bill payment, we can make sure that those are all properly tagged. And then the other thing is, because, again, we're paying from us to the agency, they never dishonor. Any payment we put into an agent's trust account is cleared funds. And so they never have to worry about that bouncing back. They can distribute that to owners and to tradespeople immediately, which is a big win. In terms of transparency, this is another thing that we've found. So by making it really clear to both the agents and the tenants when payments have occurred, you don't have that whole thing about an agent calling a tenant, you need to make a payment, the tenant says they paid, the agent has to get a screenshot or ask for a receipt. They can log into our portal and they can see payments straight away, who they're from, what they were for, and how much they were, which just makes it easier for everybody when you're having those difficult conversations. You don't have to kind of ask for proof or kind of go back and forth, which is a big win. And then finally, receipting. So the main thing is that agents want to get paid. They want that rent money to get paid. And until it's receipted in their books, it isn't actually considered paid from the agent's perspective. So by having that reference automatically applied and providing the ability for agents to download a pay file they can just drag and drop into their property management system, they can automatically receipt the whole day's payments at a click of a button, and then go about doing the things that they actually want to be doing rather than managing money and reconciling finances.
That sounds like music to my ears. And I want to talk about a couple of the points you just mentioned there. I guess the big one for me that you just mentioned is that confusion of payments. So, sometimes bond top-ups go in, and we're not sure if it's bond top-up, if it's water. So how does Rentpay actually clarify, or I think you said tag those payments?
Yeah. So for one-off manual payments, whether it's a bill, a water, a bond top-up, the tenant would go into the Rentpay app. So we have both an app they can download, or they can just go to our website. They'd select the amount they want to pay. They'd click the payment method they want to use, and then they have to select a purpose. So is this payment a rent payment? Is it a bond payment? Is it a bill payment? And then that purpose will be assigned to the payment. Unfortunately, the CRM and property management systems don't have ways of us actually tagging it on the payment itself. But in our dashboard, the agent will be able to see against that tenant what each payment was for. And that way they don't have to call the tenant and ask them, that $200 you paid, was that for bond, or was that for rent, or was that a water bill? They can just see straight away the purpose and either, pass that along to the right authority if they need to lodge it, or allocate it as required.
Beautiful. If you are anything like me, you think you know your rent roll numbers. Well, I thought I did until I had a rent roll health check, and I was quite literally shocked. The money I was leaving on the table was astounding. And this is not something that I'm proud to admit. There were missed management fees, let fees, advertising, and lease renewal fees not being charged, and properties even without bonds. And all of this was happening despite monthly audits being conducted in my business. So how did I uncover all these gaps in my valuable income? Well, I had a rent roll due diligence from my good friend Tazi, aka the Rent Roll Queen and founder of the Tazi Way, a specialist in rent roll due diligence, business valuation, and management rights. The Tazi Way is the innovative force driving the real estate industry. With 25 years of business and real estate acumen, they find gaps and risks in your agency to find undiscovered value. If you'd like to book your business in for a rent roll due diligence, head to the link in the show notes and mention That Property Mum for a 10% discount. What about, and I guess that's, like you said, that's going to reduce, the other big benefit of that is reducing those unallocated funds, which can sit there for a long time until somebody gets time to chase up and find out. And that also, I think, through your platform, reduces the payments that come in without some sort of a reference or ID with them. So,
we don't have payments without references.
Yep, perfect.
So every single payment will have a reference. If for whatever reason, occasionally maybe the agency hasn't updated the reference on their end, and so they're not quite sure what that reference is for, they can just search that reference in our dashboard and they'll see the address, the tenant name, all the payments for that reference, and then be able to make sure they've updated their system appropriately so that it reconciles.
Beautiful. The $1 million question now. Are you ready for it? Which is what every tenant is going to ask us. What are the fees associated with it?
So, and this was one of the complaints I had about these kind of systems when I came into it as a customer, is the kind of nickel and diming of the fees. And it would be, 95 cents there, $1 here, and it all just kind of adds up over time. We just do a flat $2 monthly fee. And that covers unlimited direct debits. It covers unlimited pay ID payments, unlimited rent payments out to the agent. If they want to use a credit card, there is a surcharge, which is 1.25%, which is, almost the lowest in the market. And I can exclusively kind of reveal here that we're actually on the verge of dropping that even further. So we've been doing a bit of negotiation, and in the next couple of weeks, fingers crossed, that will be dropping down to 0.99%, just to make it even cheaper. And that's basically it. We also have options. So we have agents who can see the savings that they get in time, and they can see the savings they get in chasing payments, and they choose to pay that on behalf of the tenants so that they can offer it free to all their tenants as their main payment method, which is amazing. We also have agencies who, are quite happy using a direct to trust payment, but they want the ability to offer additional payment methods for those tenants that want to have them. So for those agencies, they'll just let the tenants know, look, if you want to pay with your credit card, you can use this service. It's $2 a month. It's optional. It's up to you. And we support both models. So if the agent wants to pay or the tenant wants to pay, we can do either.
Brilliant. That is so good. And I've not seen anything like that in any of the other platforms, payment platforms.
It's surprising. People are surprised to learn 40% of our customers join direct off the street without being told to by their agent.
Wow.
They find the flexibility in our platform that the agents haven't been able to provide, and they choose to use us direct. The agent doesn't need to get involved. They tell us where they need the money to go and how often and how much, and we make the payments.
That's brilliant. Love it. Love that, taking off responsibility off us as well as property managers. Another thing that you mentioned, earlier on was about one of the biggest issues that we have currently with our payment service provider at the moment is that we have to wait 3 days for the funds to be cleared, which, is a real problem if it's mid and end of month, because the property owner can see that the money's sitting there, but we can't actually disperse it to them when we say mid or end of month, because we've got to wait for that 3-day clearance. But you guys don't have that issue, do you?
No. So, I should be clear. There is a delay between when the tenant does a direct debit and when the funds clear to us. We actually only do 2 days. We've shaved a day off there. Yep. But if the tenant pays with credit card or Pay ID or BPay, there is no clearance days. But either way, that's between the tenant and their Rentpay wallet. When we're paying from the Rentpay wallet to the agent, that's instant. In fact, one of the massive benefits of Rentpay, which a lot of our agencies love, is when you have a situation like a bond payment or 2 weeks in advance rent payment, and it's for key handover, there's often this awkward conversation where the truck's outside, they've come to get the keys, and you haven't got the funds yet.
Yep.
With our dashboard, if the tenant has made the payment from Rentpay to the agency can see that funds have been paid. And even if they haven't receipted them yet, they can be confident those funds are already in their trust account. And we have many agencies that actually do key handover purely on the fact that they can see it's been paid, even before they receipt it in their property management system the next morning. Because by seeing it in there, they know that money is in their trust account. Even if they haven't done their formal receipting yet, they can rely on that so they can hand over keys on the spot.
I've had that issue the last couple of weeks multiple times where people have turned up to get keys and we can't find rent, or they've had to go down to the bank and bring us cash payments, which is just another problem in itself. So I love that.
Ultimately, we're a payments company. My background's banking, my background is payments, and that's what we do. And so I'm a big believer that you should play to your strengths. And I see a lot of companies trying to do a little bit of everything. They want to do payments, they want to do lease sign up, they want to do maintenance, they want to do comms, and they end up not doing anything great. They just do a little bit of everything, where we just do payments, and we think we do a pretty good job of it.
It's brilliant. So what about the benefits then on the flip side for tenants? Because they're really our customers that we're going to have to convert if an agency was going to change over from their current banking institution or platform. What are some of the benefits that we could use to help us sell this to tenants? There's been so much talk of stress, overwhelm, and burnout in property management lately. Do you want to know how I overcame all of that? Yes, I hit rock bottom multiple times, but I got myself a virtual assistant. Actually, not just one, but 3. But I didn't just get any VA, I got a PMVA. What are they? Well, they are the most well-trained in the business. And not only that, you also have a backup VA. so that essentially your business is never without admin support ever again. And my health, time, and business has never looked back. Your PMVA can take care of tasks like rent arrears, lease preparation and renewals, maintenance follow-up, routine inspection bookings, data entry, audits, prospecting, inbox management, and so much more. And the best part of implementing a PMVA in my business was that it freed up my time and my team's time to take care of important things like customer service. What makes me feel so safe is that PMVA is owned by Tiffany Botel, both here and in the Philippines, making my data secure and giving me more control over the VA arrangement. So head to the link in the show notes to book in your discovery call with Lady Boss Tiff.
Yeah, so straight away, the flexibility of payment methods is a big one. So the ability to offer tenants the choice. It's amazing. There is not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to payments. For every person that wants a direct debit so they don't have to think about it, there's another person that wants to choose when they make their payments. And it's really interesting how different people are. So by giving them choice, you make everybody happy. Especially, it's amazing. As I said, we get 40% of our sign-ups off the street. Almost half of those do it because they want the credit card points. So they pay their rent on their credit card and get the points. They've obviously done the math, it works for them, so that's really popular. So payment method is one. The other thing is they can store extra funds in their Rentpay wallet. So we see a lot of tenants actually putting a little bit extra in each week and building up a buffer. And, if you've ever read The Barefoot Investor, it's all about the buckets of money. So having this bucket of rent money that you don't have to worry about is really appealing to people. It's just that kind of security blanket, especially because they can choose when they get their debitors coming out of their account. So a lot of people will have it set up for payday. So they get paid, their rent money comes out, it's gone.
That makes sense. Yep.
They don't have to think about it, which is especially important on the East Coast where you have a lot of rent that's charged monthly. So rather than the tenant having to kind of store that in their bank account, I'm not going to say they go down to the pub on Friday night and spend it, but some people do. But by having an automatic direct debit set up, they don't have to worry. They can just say that's done. Another big one is housemates and share houses. So we have PayID, which has been around for a while now, but people are still kind of getting their head around it. But basically, what it is it's in our case, an email address that they can give out to everyone in the house. Everyone in the house can pay from their bank account to that email address, and it will all land in the one Rentpay wallet. And then that can get paid to the agent. So if Steve has $100 and John has $200 worth of rent, they all just make the individual payments. It lands in the one account, and then it gets paid out to the agent, which makes it real easy in that conversation when you're trying to manage funds and manage share house situations. So that's proven popular as well. And then we have actual optional features that tenants can enable. So one of the big ones is our score builder feature. Now what this is an optional 1 week line of credit that a tenant can take out. So that's up to 1 week's worth of rent. And basically it allows them to draw down on it in the case of an emergency and get access to that extra cash. But even if they never use it, by taking advantage of that service and the way that credit reporting works in Australia, they actually build their credit score over time just by having that open. So they can enable that on their Rentpay account. Even if they've got a terrible credit score, if they in the future at some point want to buy a house or get a home loan, they can just sit there and let their credit score improve over time to prepare them for that future purchase. Another one, not to keep going on and on.
No, it's good. It's brilliant. Love it.
We have a bill smoothing partnership with Origin. So we have an exclusive partnership with Origin where they can bundle in their energy bills with their rent payments, and Origin will give them $5 cash back every week. Sorry, every month.
Oh, I was going to say $5 every week. That's amazing. Well, even every month. It's still that's with energy.
No,
bills.
Sorry, what am I saying?
It is
sorry, it is every week. It is every week.
I did think I saw that on your website that it was every week.
I'm confusing myself. Yes, yeah. $5 a week just for bundling in their power bills.
Which is amazing because obviously we all know energy bills are set to soar. So,
and the nice thing is they're prepaying their bills, so they're paying in advance. which just reduces that shock, especially as summer's coming up and suddenly you've got a $500 energy bill that you didn't expect. By putting that extra aside, you just avoid that, that bill shock.
Absolutely. So that's amazing. Like the benefits for property managers, agencies, tenants. Is there, I guess, is there anything that we, I guess time is probably, and how do we change over as a property manager? I'm just thinking sort of objections that I would probably have if I was onboarding this into my business. Talk about how we set it up, what we would do, what your onboarding process, I guess, is like for new clients.
Yep. So we've got a whole pack that we can go through with prospective agents that includes templated emails, the flow. We also run competitions as when agencies come on board. We'll often be giving away a month's free rent to one lucky tenant who signs up in that time period, just to kind of incentivize. Most tenants, it isn't so much that they aren't willing to do it, it's just making the time to do it. As you do and me know, any kind of change, the harder thing is just making the time and getting around to it. So those kind of competitions and those kind of templates just help get over that change paralysis of tenants. But the flexibility is really where it comes in. So, if you were doing direct debit before, you can do direct debit with us. If you were one who gave out bank or trust account details or used BPay, we have that option too. So the easiest way to get tenants to change over is just kind of going like for like and just matching whatever they're used to, while still letting them know that there's other options if they want them. But obviously people are used to a certain way, and as much as possible, we try and maintain that to make it as seamless as possible. Speaking of transfer, there's also an interesting point that I didn't mention. I was listening to your past episodes with Tazi where she was talking about rent rolls.
Yep.
One thing I think people forget, when you do a rent roll purchase, you have to tell them to change how they pay their rent, and they have to get them paying into your trust account, assuming you are buying to your existing role. With Rentpay, they can just swap the destination, and the tenants need to change nothing. So the tenant still pays into the Rentpay account, and we just change from one agency to another agency as a destination. And so if you want to sell your rent roll in the future and you're using Rentpay, that's a 2-second job.
Wow. That is a selling point right there.
Because as you know, you can tell a tenant 10 times that they need to make their payment change and they'll still keep paying to the old trust account.
Yep, absolutely. And another thing that you said, and another thing that you mentioned earlier, which I'm going to go back to, because there's a few things that you mentioned in that opening that really hit home to me as selling points. And another one of them was the dishonor fees. So currently we do experience quite a few dishonor fees with that. And it's not necessarily, it's the banking institution's fault really, because it's that 3-day delay. The tenants have paid one day. They think, I've paid my rent. Oh, I've got all this money left. I'll go and spend it now. But in reality, the funds haven't actually come out of their account. And those fees are really quite expensive with the dishonors. But with Rentpay, the money has to physically be in there before anything gets transferred out.
Before we make any payments from a tenant's Rentpay wallet to the agent, that money has to have cleared.
Okay.
So, any funds that go to the agency are cleared funds. There are no dishonors, there are no clawbacks, there are no dishonor fees. If the money's in your trust account, you can bank on it.
That's brilliant. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, so you are working with a lot of agencies at the moment. So what's probably the best place for somebody to reach out to you? Do you do demos of the platform?
We do demos. So we also have a video on our website if anyone wants to have a bit of a look and check out how it works in action. So rentpay.com.au is the website. There's an agents tab that will give them all the agent benefits, or they can look through the site itself, which also spells out some of those tenant benefits that I've highlighted. So that gives the whole spiel. Otherwise, people are welcome to reach out to me directly. I chat with agents all the time and give demos and run-throughs. So my email is james@rent.com.au, which is another point that I probably should mention. We are part of the rent.com.au family. So every single one of our agents on Rentpay gets enhanced listings at rent.com.au for free. So they get all their listings upgraded. Obviously, listings are not that important at the moment in the current market, but these things are cyclical. And it's always good to have your name in lights.
Oh, absolutely. Driving traffic is always essential. And you're right, the market could change at any time. So I love it. I think you've sold some really amazing benefits, which you did already sell to me when we, not necessarily sold to me, but we chatted about this at the PPM conference recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been at the back of my mind, constantly thinking, and funnily enough, as I've got back into my business, and the banking has become a real issue at the moment for us. So I will be booking in for that demo very, very quickly. It is a pain point at the moment, and I don't like pain points. Property management's hard enough. But yeah, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think any property manager wakes up in the morning excited to do their bank rec or to chase payments. So anything we can do to take the load off and to help out in that regard. And I should have mentioned, we also have a whole system of alert, notifications, reminders, follow-ups with tenants, just to take that load off a property manager and save them time. Ultimately, every property manager I speak to want to be spending their time talking to owners and going out there and growing their business. They don't want to be spending their time trying to chase payments or do math and work out where money's gone. So anything our system can do to make that easier is our priority.
So sorry, just explain that. So if the money's not there and you know that the direct debit's coming up, you send those reminders to the tenants?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So we have SMS and email reminders that we send to tenants, as well as push notifications in-app, both to remind them that direct debit's going to come out, or if it hasn't come out or it's failed, to then follow up.
Okay. So
we also have an Australian-based call center.
Yep.
And we have live chat. So we have all the tools to enable whatever comfort level tenants have, because it's really a generational thing. Some people never want to speak to a person and just want to jump on the chat or the email. Other people just want someone they can talk to. And so we try and, flexibility is our mantra. So we try and offer a solution that works for all types of tenants and agents.
Yep. I love it. I think you've nailed that mantra. So that's amazing. One question I forgot to ask you was, do you have a personal development tool, book, podcast, audiobook, resource, or something that you do for personal development that you could recommend to our audience?
I don't have a book or a podcast that I follow, but I was thinking about this before this meeting, and I do have a bit of a philosophy that might be useful, which is something my old boss always used to tell me, which is that no one ever gets promoted because of their weaknesses, which basically, for me at least, means that you should really focus on the things you're good at. The things and the strengths that got you to where you are, they're ultimately going to be the things that are going to get you to where you want to be. And while it's important to know your weaknesses, I think it's important to play to your strengths and focus on the things that you're good at and double down on that, rather than just trying to always just focus on the things you can improve.
Absolutely love that. That is why I no longer should be working in property management day to day, and I should be doing things like podcast recordings, because I do struggle in property management. So that is really great advice, and it was actually timely advice for me right now as I'm in the throes of covering for somebody on holidays. So thank you, James. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, and I'm really grateful to have this conversation with you.
It's great to have the chance to chat to you today. Thank you for having me.
One thing I dread doing is chasing up rent arrears and debt collection. It takes up valuable time and it can often lead to conflict. But it is a necessary evil when you are running a property management business. But there is an easier way to make sure your tenants' rent is paid on time and in advance, and it's called Rentpay. Rentpay is a secure and simple to use payment platform that saves agents time and money with fast, accurate receipting while making life better for renters. To top it all off, you'll never have to worry about dishonor fees or unknown deposits again. How good is that? Cleared funds are deposited straight into your bank account in a single daily payment with accurate receipting and reference numbers auto-assigned, and it's fully compatible with all trust accounting systems. It's a super flexible payment option for tenants who can pay rent in multiple ways, including direct debit, credit card, or instantly pay with Payer ID. Fees are minimal, and Rentpay even helps with the rent arrears process by automating reminders to renters when payments are due or missed. If you are currently paying large bank fees, struggling with constant dishonours because the funds aren't cleared when their funds land in your trust, or wasting time chasing up unknown payments, I encourage you to book in a free demo with Rentpay and give yourself and your renters an easier way to pay rent. Can I ask you a quick favour before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.